morning, everyone. On behalf of the Department of Economics, we take the golden opportunity to welcome all the distinguished dignitaries, esteemed delegates, faculty members, research scholars, students, and all the stakeholders of Pondicherry University for the inaugural function of ICSSR-sponsored International Conference on Climate Change and its Impact on the Economy, Business, and Society, a Global Perspective, organized by the Department of Economics of Pondicherry University. Every memorable journey begins with a heartfelt welcome. It is my great honor to introduce Professor A. Shankaran Sir, Professor and Head of the Department of Economics, Pondicherry University, and Coordinator of the ICSSR-sponsored International Conference. With over 2 decades of experience in teaching, research, and extension, he has made remarkable academic contributions. He has published nearly 70 research articles in leading international journals, authored a book on India's industrial economy, guided PhD scholars, completed ICSSR-funded projects, and organized numerous academic events. A recipient of the Best Educator Award, he actively serves the academic community and is a vibrant head of the department in the School of Management. To formally welcome our distinguished guests, delegates, and participants, I now have the privilege of inviting Professor A. Shankaran Sir, a coordinator of the program and head of the Department of Economics, to deliver the welcome address.
Most respected dignitaries on the dais and off the dais, deans, heads, faculty members, research scholars, participants, students, and friends, very good morning. It gives me an immense pleasure and a privilege to stand before you to welcome you all. I feel honored to invite a visionary leader, distinguished academician, and developer of this university, our Honorable Vice Chancellor. Sir, within the short span of time, the Pondicherry University experienced a revolutionary change and spillover effect with the support of all our faculty members. On behalf of the Department of Economics, I respectfully welcome you, sir. I am very happy to welcome a globally renowned social scientist and a well-wisher of the Department of Economics, Professor Kalliyappa Kallirajan, Emeritus Professor, Australian National University, Australia. Sir, your scholarly contribution in the global arena in the form of research, special lecture, and policy modeling attract the attention of all stratum of the society. He has guiding me for the past 4 months to shape this conference. On behalf of the Department of Economics, I welcome you, sir. It's my great pleasure and privilege to extend a very warm welcome and gratitude to Professor Kwangi from Thailand. Thanks for accepting our invitation. On behalf of the Department of Economics, I welcome you, ma'am. I welcome Mr. Neetu Kosal, Research Associate, Cambodia Development Resource Institute, Cambodia. Thank you so much for your coordination. I welcome you all on the Department of Economics. I am delighted to welcome one of our teacher, mentor, and well-wisher, Professor Dulasi Brinda, Emeritus Professor. She has been guiding me for the past few months, and also she facilitated us to get some globally renowned experts for this international conference. On behalf of the Department of Economics, I welcome you, ma'am. I am very happy to welcome the director, our mentor, our well-wisher, the leading academician and able administrator, Professor Narajan sir. Sir, with your support and scholarly guidance, the Department of Economics is marching on the right platform. And on behalf of the Department of Economics, I welcome you, sir. I am deeply honored to welcome Professor Sabojit Mandal and Sabjit Saha, Professor from IIT, and another one professor from RIS Delhi. Sir, in spite of your busy schedules, you accepted our invitation and participating in this international conference. On behalf of the Department of Economics, I welcome you, sirs. I welcome Professor Krishna Raj, one of the organizing committee members of this international conference, who has been guiding me, and he is instrumental in submitting this research proposal to get fund from ICSSR. Sir, many times I disturbed you to get your scholarly ideas and suggestions. On behalf of the Department of Economics, I welcome you, sir. I am deeply honored to welcome Professor Madheswaran, former Director, ISEC Bangalore, Dr. Socrates, former Registrar, Mananmuni Sundaram University, Professor Rajendra Prasad, Senior Professor, Bangalore University, Professor Manimekalai, Principal, Professor Arulmurugan, HOD, Department of Commerce, Karaikal Campus, and all other dignitaries. I also welcome the participants and authors to participate in this international conference. Last but not the least, I welcome all the students, scholars, and friends. Welcome you. Thank you so much.
May I now request our esteemed dignitaries to kindly come forward and grace the occasion by lighting the ceremonial lamp. Every conference has a vision and every vision has a purpose. To present the objectives, significance and highlights of this international conference, I request Professor Krishna Raj Sir, CSEP, Institute for Social and Economic Change, Bangalore, and the Organizing Secretary, ICCCIEBS-2026 to address the gathering.
Very good morning, one and all present here. Very distinguished guests here on the dais and off the dais, all the faculty, researchers and students. Kalai Vanakkam. I extend my heartfelt welcome to all of you to this 3-day international conference on economics of climate change, its impact on economy, society and business, a global perspective. All the experts and delegates present here, they have enriched this conference with their presence as well as following days, their deliberations on this important topic. This conference is sponsored by ICSSR, New Delhi, along with RBI Chair, Center for Economic Studies and Policy, CSP, along with foreign universities. Their delegates and guests are present here. The Honorable Vice Chancellor, Professor P. Prakash Babu, Vice Chancellor of Pondicherry University, highly distinguished economist, Professor Kaliyappa Kalirajan, who has traveled all the way from Australia at this age to grace this occasion. Professor Dulasi Brinda is here to grace this occasion. Professor Q is here. Professor Natarajan is here. Professor Debasis Mandal. Professor Sabyasachi Saha. Nith Kosal from Cambodia. Professor Shankaran, Professor Arshahai, and all. We are highly privileged to have all these distinguished economists. When Professor Shankaran called me and expressed his desire to have an international conference on a contemporary topic like economics of climate change, I immediately agreed and extended all the support at my disposal despite my busy schedule. As a result, we are here to witness this 3-day international conference. I congratulate Department of Economics, Pondicherry University for having organized this important conference. I also congratulate Professor Shankaran. Why this topic? Certainly the question arises. Climate change and its impact on economy, society, and business. As you know, climate change is no more a myth, it is a reality. A few years back, there was suspicion on climate change. But today, everyone is working on climate change and its impact on various environment and economic media. It has huge socio-economic and environmental impact, particularly on the macro and micro economy as well as society. And of course, the society conducts business that is also being affected. The way we conduct the business needs to change as a result of climate change. Many studies in the field are basically science-based and largely inadequate in the field of social science. You might have observed various UNFCCC assessment reports. They are science-based. So recently I visited IISc, the Vecha Center for Climate Change. I was asking the dean whether do you have social scientists in your center. He said no. So this is how the research is being conducted vertically in a compartmentalized way without involving cross-cutting social science and other sciences. Therefore, this conference is very important to understand and estimate and also analyze the cost of climate change on economy, society, and business. You might be aware of various studies conducted in this field, but the first report that comes to my mind is the Economics of Climate Change, the Stern Review, published way back in 2006, and Professor Nicholas Stern was appointed by the UK government to study the impact of climate change on the economy. And Sir Nicholas Stern has come out with an estimation that the poor countries, especially in South Hemisphere, they face huge climate crisis because of low economic resilience. They incur 5 to 10% of their GDP towards climate change related natural disasters, including floods, famine, and other diseases, many even ocean erosion, etc. So he has assessed a wide range of evidence on how climate change is affecting every one of us, and came out with economic cost first time. And he has used several different techniques to assess the cost and risks involved in the economy at the household level and also at business level. The report very clearly observes that economic cost of climate change are significant and capable of severely aggravating economic and environmental problems in the poor countries. So in this context, this seminar is very important to understand and deliberate on various issues and topics that are affecting every one of us. Therefore, evidence is lacking to assess and to guide the policies how climate change is affecting the economy, environment, society, and business. This conference provides an opportunity to academicians and scholars to estimate the impact of climate change on the society, economy, and others. The benefits of strong and early action far weigh the economic cost of not acting today. So recently, I had an interaction with Sir Nicholas Stern. I wrote an email to him when we were searching for Professor V.K.R.V. Rao Chair Professor. Professor Madheshwaran suggested Professor Kaliyappa Kaliraja's name. During that time, I wrote an email to Sir Nicholas Stern, who has been coming to Bangalore very frequently because we were conducting the study on state action plan on climate change. So recently, we produced a report for Karnataka government. I worked on the topic called Finance for Climate Policy. We were supporting the government in order to bring out a separate climate budget to address the mitigation and adaptation, but most of the officials, they don't understand what is climate change and how it is affecting. This is the stage we are here. So when Professor Nicholas Stern came here, he has guided us on several ways. So I want to read out his message because we know that the youngsters are here, and I can see some hope for the future, young generation, particularly Gen Z. Professor Nicholas Stern has written like this: Dear Dr. Raj, thank you for your kind invitation to nominate me as Dr. V.K.R.V. Rao Chair at Institute for Social and Economic Change in Bengaluru. I had the pleasure of meeting Dr. V.K.R.V. Rao way back in 1981-82 when I was living in Bangalore for a couple of months. He was a fine person, and I have the highest regard for him and for his work. Unfortunately, my commitments prevent me from taking up this kind of invitation, so please excuse me. Thank you so much for thinking of me for this prestigious position. So this is the humbleness of Sir Nicholas Stern, who has written back to us. So why I am telling is that, so in order to inspire the young generation who are here, so they can be a future for all of us. Further, recently we had a meeting with IASC on pre-COP 31 seminar, where all the officials from the Ministry of Environment, Forest and Climate Change, they have gathered here to take inputs from the scientists and go to the pre-COP to deliberate and discuss and put up their own agenda before the international committee. So when we discussed about the climate change, the governments are not coming out with any clear-cut policy in terms of mitigation, adaptation, due to geopolitical uncertainty. The international organizations, international associations, or even agreements like Kyoto Protocol and Paris Agreement, even though they have committed certain climate finance to developing countries and technology transfer, but they are not coming forward because of all these politics. And even Trump did not sign the Paris Agreement. In this regard, we need to have our own source of finance to mitigation and adaptation, because 50% of our people depend on agriculture. So that is the risks and uncertainty we are facing in India. Therefore, we have provided several policy suggestions. One is that resource augmentation on our own way is very important. I am also part of the committee in Karnataka, Resource Mobilization Committee or Asset Monetization Committee. The same is here in Tamil Nadu government recently. They constituted a committee under Montek Singh Ahluwalia. And some of our, even our chairman is the member, and also one of the members also member of this Revenue Mobilization Committee of Government of Tamil Nadu. So when contacted Montek Singh Ahluwalia, congratulated him for becoming the chairman of that committee, he was telling me that I am referring your report because we have already submitted the report to Government of Karnataka, and we are working on the excise policy that has helped to mobilize more fund. So in that report, the main thing I highlighted is that this committee cannot just mobilize resources. These resources mobilized should be used for inclusive growth, not only for inclusive growth, more importantly for environmental sustainability. So therefore, we titled our report, Faster Economic Growth, Inclusive Growth, and Green Growth. This is how we are approaching for economic development of the state of Karnataka. So when we mobilize resources, that a part of the money should go for mitigation and adaptation, then only we can have an egalitarian society or equitable society along with sustainable future. So I just read out from the deliberations which took place in the IISc, Indian Institute of Science, Divacha Center for Climate Change. What are the suggestions we have given? Because this would help to deliberate in the coming days. So the important thing is that already I mentioned there is a geopolitical realignment which is taking place. To address the geopolitical realignment of climate finance, climate policy and finance must respond to the changing geopolitical order and the growing interlinkage between climate change, energy security, technology, critical minerals, and the transition to clean energy. This is the first suggestion. So we need to depend more on our own source. Mobilize domestic climate finance, strengthen domestic resource mobilization, and use public finance to crowd in private investment. Scale up adaptation finance. If you look at the finance, climate finance, more finance is going to mitigation. That has become another business for the business people. So therefore, increase financing for climate adaptation and resilience, especially at vulnerable and local levels. Promote household climate investment. provide incentives for households and domestic private actors to invest in low carbon solutions, strengthen green finance instruments, better integrate green deposits, green lending and green credits with stronger impact assessment and monitoring, and support local and nature-based solutions, promote small-scale, local and nature-based and circular economy solutions such as waste to energy. So these are the strategies we need to adapt at the society or household level to overcome this climate change. So unless we adapt, we can't survive. Therefore, this conference provides us all this opportunity to deliberate and discuss on these issues. And it is not the least, I would like to quote Mother Teresa for the benefit of all of us. She said very beautiful saying for our own survival on this wretched earth. If you are kind, people may accuse you of selfish, ulterior motives. Be kind anyway. If you are successful, you will win some false friends and true enemies succeed anyway. If you are honest and frank, people will try to cheat you. Be honest anyway. What you spend years building, someone could destroy overnight. Build anyway. If you find serenity and happiness, they may be jealous of you. Be anyway. Be happy anyway. The good you do today will often be forgotten by tomorrow. Do good anyway. Give the world the best you have, and it may never be enough. Give your best anyway. Wish you all the best. Thank you.
G'day, good morning. The title which I was looking at this international conference was a little bit different. What I was thinking is, after reading the programs and other things, so you're living the phrase, living in the age of dynamic climate change, right? Because that is the current things we are living. So from that angle, what I am thinking is, what are the challenges we are facing today? So what is the new reality? And then how we tackle those challenges and build ourselves a resilient economy. Then we look at, when we talk about the challenges, what are the environmental challenges? That's what everybody is saying. Then we look at economical challenge. In order to understand the economic challenge, you need not be a specialist in economics, because everybody is an economist, right? Economics is the easiest subject on earth, because you can never be wrong. Professor Natarajan will agree with me that because economics, everything depends on assumptions. So if you fail in one thing, you can say that that assumption was not holding. That is because of the government. So because the scapegoat is government. So everybody can put the point on the government. So they forget about their responsibility. So we have to now change that attitude towards this. So that is why we are coming in to economically. Second, we talk about socially. Okay, so because professor like Jerome has been always arguing for there is social injustice. And so, so you have to look at what are the social constraints on those things. And then we look at the governance. Okay, because what are the government is trying to do and what are those things, whether the government is doing the right thing or the wrong thing. So these are all the challenges. So now let us take one by one. First, environmental. Environmental, we all know that is, it affects agriculture I think your Professor Sendil, right? He is working in agriculture area. So he knows what are the problems and issues in agriculture, biodiversity issues, and then agricultural production instability that is due to the warming up and all those issues. And then we come to the economically, these carbon emissions affects not only the plants, but also the human being, but also all the economic activities. So Professor Shankaran, who is working on industrial economics, right? So he knows that the issue of carbon emissions mainly starts from industries. Because energy production and then stationary energy use, which means it is in the manufacturing and various other distribution of electricity, because electricity generation and distribution is one of the major emission factors. So in that kind of economic environment, it affects the whole livelihood of many people. Then we come to socially. So social, what is the link between social status and social living and carbon emissions? It increases inequality. Because when there is a drought or flood or all those things, it is only the oppressed class or the poorest section of the economy, they suffer a lot. So it leads to inequality, increasing the inequality. Okay? So now we come to the governance. As I said, there are many policies around, but it is not that how many number of policies we have, how effectively these policies are being implemented. So that is important. I'll just give you my observation, evidence-based research. I just used to go for a walk for a couple of 2 days outside. And then they told me that if you go out and take the first left lane, you will reach the beach, you can walk. But when I took that lane, both the side of the lane is really, I don't know. But anyway, so very difficult. But when I decided to walk inside the campus today, and it is beautiful, excellently done. So the Vice Chancellor is paying much attention to inside Pondicherry University. Okay, sir? But the outside environment also, so next comes the responsibilities. So what is the response? Because his house is very much closer to this place, right? Your house is very much near to this. That's what they told me. But then, responsibility, who is responsibility is that one. So that I will come back. So now these challenges are immense, but not insurmountable. We can take a light. Because there is a gap between the ambitions and the actions. So that gap should be reduced. So now we look at how do we tackle these challenges. Environmentally, we have so many programs. That's why I said, see, why I'm indicating this indication about the roads and other things. So we have what is the Swachh Bharat, sorry? Swachh Bharat. So which is a good one to keep the things clean. So the efficient man, he is making all the efforts to make the country clean, but it is not happening. Effective operations are not there. So in these kind of things, environmental protections is not the responsibility of the government. It is also the responsibility of the individuals and the society. So the individuals and society, how can they change the climate change? Because the individuals' consumption and production, and these productions are for individuals' consumption. So when they change their consumption behavior, it is possible to reduce the emission. That is what all the research is saying. Okay, how to reduce the consumption. One good thing, when I entered Pondicherry University, this guest house, good thing, you said that it's a vegetarian things. That is good. Vegetarian, I think it is something, right? Vegetarian, right? In the entrance. It is written on vegetarian and alcohol-free zone or something.
Oh, it is this.
In this one. That is good. Because the cattles, what we are producing, some cattles are definitely used for agricultural purposes, but some are for swallowing. So when those cattles are taken care of, they produce methane, is one of the worst reactions. So if you all become vegetarian, then it will be better. The consumption will be better. But don't ask me. I am just giving you the idea. Okay? So suddenly, some of the fellows who came to me for dinner yesterday, they might say that you are preaching. Yes, of course, I am preaching. So, but why? The sales law, supply creates its own demand. So when the supply is adjusted, then it is, okay, anyway, it does not matter. So anyway, we cannot follow all the things. You are all studying what is a Tirukural or Bible or anything. But are you following all those things, what is taught there? No. Because we choose. And we have an excuse. And if you are not choosing the right thing or wrong thing anyway, does not matter. So we go to the environmental, to the society, so how the society can help reduction of these emissions. So the society's things is really, that's what I said, we take the responsibility, the society takes the responsibilities of cleaning up and other things. So I visit China regularly. So I mostly go to Beijing and Shanghai and also, so Beijing I'm not comparing. But when I go interior Chinese villages or something for data collection, I find it they are very clean and neat and, so with a lot of things they are doing it. And in Southeast Asian countries also, many of the countries are neat and clean. I'm not comparing Singapore. That is an extraordinary case, but I'm comparing with Vietnam or Indonesia, because Krishna Raj just returned from Indonesia, so he will agree with me that things are
Very clean there.
yes, very clean. And my colleague Kwan will agree with me that Thailand, some areas are clean, not all, right? So I am not saying that India is the only place where this is not happening. It is happening throughout the world. So the responsibility lies with the society, how to make the things clearly very things. Okay, so let me stop here because we are already late. So if I go on doing all those things, because anyway I have another 1 hour to bore you. So let me stop here and all the climate things, you don't have to worry about this because the government is taking steps, but at the same time we have to contribute to the government. So that is the important thing. Let us reduce the criticizing the government. So Jeremy, I'm not saying Jeremy is criticizing the government, but what I'm saying is social inequality and other things. I'm saying that, we have to do our own jobs. Okay, so that is. Okay, now you may be wondering why I am picking up some professors from the Department of Economics in order to show to the mass crowd, all these professors are also working on how to reduce emissions and how to reduce the negative impact of reduction. That is why I mentioned all these professors' names. That does not mean the other professors whom I did not mention, for example, Gubendran. So it does not mean that he is not working on it. He is working on trade, right? International trade. So trade and emissions are highly correlated. Okay, so we want to increase export, but increasing export leads to increasing manufacturing. Increasing manufacturing leads to increase the energy demand. The energy demand increase leads to carbon emission. So that's a kind of circle is there. So let me stop here and then we will proceed now. I will leave this floor to Professor Shankaran. I will come back to you. Don't run away.
Thank you very much, Professor Kaliyappa Kaliyarajan sir, for your inspiring inaugural address and insightful perspectives on climate change and sustainable development. We all know that the presidential address is one of the highlights of today's inaugural function. It is my privilege to invite Professor P. Prakash Babu sir, Honorable Vice Chancellor of Pondicherry University, who always cares the welfare of all the stakeholders of Pondicherry University and have a greater vision to take our university to a greater height. May I request our Honorable Vice Chancellor sir to deliver the presidential address.
Good morning, one and all. Kalai Vanakkam. The guests on the dais, Senior Professor, Professor Kaliyappa Kaliyarajan, Emeritus Professor, Australian National University, Professor Krishnaraj, Dr. Harsh Sahai, Professor Tulsi Brinda, my colleague Professor Natarajan, Professor Devashish Mandal, Professor Sabyasachi Saha, Mr. Nit Koshal, and other guests, so Dr. Kwasi from Thailand, other invited guests, speakers, my colleagues sitting here, research scholars, students, other invited participants and the media. It's my great privilege to be here as part of inaugural session of this particular program. As Professor Kaliyappa Kaliyarajan indicated already several issues of how the society should respond. I'm a biologist as I was introduced, but at some places I will also join with Dr. Jerome. I also speak on that. So the title of the topic of today's international seminar is very fascinating, very interesting to everybody. Need not be an economist, need not be an environmental person or a social scientist. It's a climate change and its impact on the economy. So many people may think that what is the climate and how this is impacting the economy. And also business on the society, a global perspective. So I really congratulate the organizers, especially the head of the department, so Professor Shankaran, and also his team of the department colleagues who are working for this. And also, I also thank the ICSSR for graciously funding, and also other institutions that they joined for a joint program of this particular conference. The climate change is no longer merely an environmental concern. It has become an economic, business, social, and developmental challenge. A drought, normally it affects the production. So basically we think that it's an agricultural aspects. Food prices will increase, and also floods also, when the environmental balance, ecosystem is disturbed, even that also causing the floods, that affects the infrastructure. And also it affects in the business model, we can say that it's a supply chain is also drastically affected. Heat waves, they reduce the labor productivity, and also the extreme weather conditions always not really unfavorable for any living being individually. And this events imposes the enormous costs on the government, business, and also the various communities. Let me emphasize on a couple of things and I will close it, because you are all learned persons in this area, especially economists. Now everybody is speaking about all newspapers also says that El Nino, that it is, everybody says that it's El Nino. Now it has come now. We are facing that El Nino effect. How this El Nino effect is going to impact the communities? or the environmental change that happens here. It's an illustration is the beginning the El Nino. It's a warming of the tropical Pacific Ocean that can alter the global weather condition. It's often associated with the weaker monsoons, as we are facing that in the South India. By this now, we should be having a lot of floods and rains, but now most of the cities are facing the problem of, especially for the drinking water. Forget about the agriculture. Now that is the situation. It affects the agriculture, food prices, rural economy, rural incomes, water availability, energy demand, and also the economic growth. Current assessments indicate there is a significant concern about the impact of El Nino on India's monsoon and also the agricultural economy. This El Nino, it also not only for leading to the less in the rainfall, but it affects the ocean. So oceanic surface of the ocean, the temperature normally daytime it will be little bit higher, by evening it will be cooler. So the wind pattern always changes. Sometimes wind from the ocean to the land and land to the ocean it goes. Once the temperature increases, what are the parameters increases in the ocean? Because the land in the globe is a very less, maybe 25 to 30% is the land and the rest of the percentage is the water, sea. We are all surrounded by the sea. If this surround water, if this increases at least a few centimeters, some of the islands will disappear, literally disappear. Because of the global warming, all icebergs are actually melting and they are increasing the water levels. So that impacts the global or the islands and the coastal areas. Now, when the global warming is there and El Nino effect is actually increasing the oceanic thermal, it's called as thermal temperature. Thermal temperature that increases, that enhances. You can see all living beings in the ocean. So there are so many fishermen are in the area in our Pondicherry. They're all actually, they go to the ocean and they go for the fishing and all. So that is their economy. So once there is a global warming takes place, that is, if it is continuing, this thermal temperature warm up the oceans. The coral reefs. Let us take some small example, coral reefs. Coral reefs are in the ocean. They are in a different colors and all. So because of the coral reefs, they live a symbiotic life with several inhabitants of the ocean. There are so many algae and fungi, it's called as the zoo or the planktonic forms of the zoo, animals and the plants. They live along with them. So because of the warm nature, they don't coexist with each other. So it's called as the bleaching of the corals, coral bleaching. Once the corals are bleached, all the fauna and flora attached to that one will be released. Actually, the symbiotic mode is some of the chlorophyll algae, they stay with that, they produce the food. That is also being shared by the corals. So that is affected primarily. Another thing is small fishes, normally fishes, they go and hide in the corals, they lay eggs there and they increase the number of fishes. So that also being affected. And also because of the ocean is getting temperature is actually increased, there is a migration of the fishes. So fishes, there are certain fishes, they live at particular temperature. When it's warm up, fishes will migrate to the different regions, maybe go to the Arctic region and all. So these are all happens. That means the ocean are the people, those who are, especially the fishermen, let us take an example, fishermen lives will be affected, their economy will be affected. So they only knows the fishing, they cannot do anything. Now tell me in another year, this is going to be highest impact between the March to the May 2027, up to that one it is there. So during this period, if the fishes are not available, so how the economy of this fisherman will take place? These are all the issues that maybe you can deliberate that one. So and also fishes also they decline in the reproduction, and also it causes the rough tides. When there is a rough tides, the ocean floor, not only that one, it's the banks of the ocean will also be, erosion will be there. Oceanic erosion will be there. So these are all, and also the causes the floods and all. So the El Nino is directly impacting the economy of the particular people. So this is called as we are calling it as the social inequality will come again. Social impact will be there because that particular group of people, they cannot do anything. How the government is going to address that issue? So this is the one. So now, for example, if you take the weaker monsoons that reduce the crop production, which may increase the food prices, affect the household consumption, and ultimately influences the inflation and the outgrowth. The climate change and business. For business, climate change is increasingly becoming a business risk. And companies must now consider the resilience of their supply chains, availability of the water, energy, climate-related disruption of the infrastructure, and also changing the consumer expectations. At the same time, climate change is creating opportunities in the renewable energy, electric mobility, and green buildings, sustainable agriculture, climate resilience infrastructure, and also the green finance. So these are all the opportunities that we have to make use of it. Then, therefore, the sustainability should not be seen merely as a regulatory obligation. It can become a source of innovation, entrepreneurship, and also the competitive advantage. So in this connection, let us talk one more little part of it, of my speech, and we will wind up. It's a circular economy. I think you are all familiar with this circular economy. It's a circular economy. Initially, what the consumers normally do it is they take, they make it, and they dispose it off. Whatever the items that we buy, use it, and we dispose it off. Now we have to change our attitude towards this one. You have to reduce, reuse, and try to regenerate. So this should be the mantra in Dr. Natarajan's words, that as a Dean of the Economics or MBA. So in this context, I would particularly emphasize the importance of the circular economy. Our traditional economic model is largely follows it's a linear pattern actually. It starts like this linearly. It's like a take, make, use it, and the dispose. Now the circular economy proposes that you have to reduce, reuse, repair, recycle, and finally you have to regenerate. It seeks keep the material and products in use for as long as possible. Once that usage is there, that you have to minimize the waste. For example, if you are producing a lot of electronic goods and all, once it is usage, normally it will be irreparable. Where they are all going, where we are going to dump them. So, because they are all not biodegradable items. So what is happening to the environment? Consider a simple example. Instead of manufacturing electronic products, using them briefly and sending them to landfills, business can design products for the repair, refurbishment, reuse, and the recycle, recovering a valuable material in this process. Similarly, industrial waste from one entrepreneurship can become a useful input for the another. So this creates a new business opportunities while reducing the pressure on the natural resources. The circular economy therefore connects the environmental sustainability with economic efficiency and innovation. India has considerably potential to scale up such approaches across the industries and the value chains. Climate change and how it is impacting the social. So this is the social dimensions is very much equally and very much important. Climate change disproportionately affects the vulnerable communities, farmers, coastal population, informal workers, and economically disadvantaged households. This is what the social inequality also linked to these particular aspects. How we are going to address this one? See, now we know that the environment has been changed, El Nino has happened, and now how we are going to address that one? As a citizens, as a people, what we are going to do that? So therefore, the climate action must also be an issue of the social justice. This is what I wanted to emphasize, and also the inclusive development. So these are the parameters where we have to address that one. We need a just transition in which the movement towards a green economy creates a new opportunities while protecting the livelihood and ensuring that no section of the society is left behind. We have to go. When we wanted to grow together, we have to grow. Every section of the society should grow. Now the India is moving towards the Viksit Bharat 2047. As India moves towards that one vision of the Viksit Bharat, development cannot be measured only by the GDP growth. When we say that GDP is increasing, but it also should reflect in the various society and the population also. A truly developed India must also have the resilient agriculture, sustainable industries, green energy, climate resilient cities, efficient resource utilization, and an environmentally responsible society. This is what our senior professor was advocating. Universities have a potential role and specific role of this transformation, especially the student communities. Climate change requires collaboration among the economists, management scholars, scientists, social scientists, policymakers, engineers, and environmental researchers. Our universities must therefore become a center not only for the knowledge creation, but also the climatic innovation, policy, research, and the sustainable solution. As so Dr. Krishnaraj advocated that the social science is equally important, because the science people normally we do within the four walls, but the social scientists, these are the people where they go out and they propagate what is the actual thing. So unless the society is directly benefited from the education, whatever we are having, so that will become irrelevant in long run. Therefore, everybody, every individual, see, this is the responsibility of the actually universities. So climate requires, our universities must therefore become the centers not only the knowledge creation, but also the climate innovation, and also the sustainability should be propagated among the populations. So let me conclude with the words of our great Mahatma Gandhiji. The earth provides enough to satisfy every man's needs, but not every man's greed. The central question therefore is not simply how we can manage the climate, but what kind of economy do we want to build? What kind of society do we want to create? And what kind of planet do we want to leave for the future generations? I hope this conference will generate a new research, innovation business models, meaningful policy recommendations, and international collaborations that can help to move from the climate vulnerability to climate resilience. I once again congratulate the organizers, head of the Department of Economics, and the other colleagues of the department, and also the school at large, and also the other colleagues sitting here for the successful, wonderful conference that we have initiated. With these words, I am delighted to inaugurate the International Conference on Climate Change and its Impact on the Economy, Business, and Society, a Global Perspective. I wish the conference will have a fruitful deliberations, meaningful outcomes, and also long-lasting collaboration. So thank you all. Thank you for the opportunity.
Let us express our heartfelt gratitude with a warm round of applause to our Honorable Vice Chancellor. Thank you, sir, for your visionary leadership and inspiring presidential address. To enrich the inaugural ceremony further, I now invite Professor Dulci Brinda Ma'am, Emeritus Professor, to deliver the special address. Also, I kindly request all the dignitaries to stick on to the time schedule.
Yes, good morning to all. Respected Vice Chancellor of this university, Dr. Prakash Babu, Dr. Natarajan, Professor Natarajan, Professor Krishnaraj, professors from other universities, Mandal, Saha and Kosal, and professor from Cambodia University, and most respected Professor Madheshwaran, and Dr. Pandey, and Dr. Williams, and other people. So it is my pleasure to talk on climate change, because for the past 30 years I was talking about climate change. Okay. So this problem of challenge of climate change, it had been recognized by the international agreements, as Krishnaraj had pointed out. The first one was in 1992 in Rio de Janeiro. The United Nations Framework on Convention on Climate Change, it was initiated. And it was initiated and it gave guidelines for all the nations, those who had participated. And it had initiated the scope, conference of parties. Okay. So the next comes the 1997 Kyoto Protocol. It was adopted in Japan. So it created so many chaos and confusion. Some of the countries, notably Australia and the USA, they never signed. So at that time I was also in USA talking on this Kyoto Protocol. And the later was the most notable agreement was Paris Agreement in 2015, and it aimed at to bring the countries below the 2 degrees centigrade, that is this industrial level, lower industrial level, at least 1.5 degrees centigrade. And it initiated the commitments for the developed countries. So it pointed out the drawbacks in the developed countries, and it came. So the conference of parties won. It was held in this Berlin, Germany in 1995, and Berlin Mandate it was initiated, and it also pointed out only the developed nations, because at the time developing nations were not contributing to any kind of climate change, and they are not contributing to any kind of green gas emissions or CO2 emissions. So recently we had this last year in Brazil, this COP30 was conducted, and it had given the 3 type of advances. Political advance, all political countries in the political area, they must also concentrate on the climate change. They must have the commitments and the responsibilities. So it had been envisaged in this conference, last year conference. And also the normative advances. Every country must realize. This Professor Kalirajan was talking about every individual must realize the problem of climate change and their own responsibility. Likewise, this conference also pointed out that normative advances. What is the responsibility of each and every country? It is not a global phenomenon. So most of the climate change is created by anthropogenic effects, that is human created one. Okay? Nature itself is not creating this problem. We are entering the nature and creating the problem. And implementation advances. So though in all agreements the developed countries are emphasizing on the developing countries, are not emphasizing, it is blaming. The developing countries are the main cause, we have to punish them like that, and they have to intervene on all types of public policies. So then the forthcoming Conference of Parties 31, it would be held in Turkey in November 9, 2026. So this is the global level. What is our India standing? Okay. So we have extreme weather. The 2024 has been considered as India's the most hottest year. Okay. And so the temperature may go up and people are dying on heat. Okay. So with this climate change has created severe droughts. 2002 and 2009 had been declared as a drought years in India. So mainly because of the decline of rainfall or monsoon failure, we are facing such problem. And heavy floods. Chennai itself had faced 2015 as a heavy flood. Kerala and other states, they have 2018 had been declared as a heavy flood year. And because of the flood, so this disaster management is lagging, and for more than 400 people died in this flood. Okay, so then because of this climate change, we are facing the problem of water crisis, water risk. Food also we are facing that Most of our agriculture is depending upon the rain-fed area, and we are spoiling our own tanks, and we are not, even though this 200 years Mahatma Gandhi, now another name, I am not able to pronounce that name, that Mahatma Gandhi Rural Development Scheme, then he renamed as something like that. And even then, if you visit that, if you conduct any kind of survey or anything, what kind of work they are doing, you may be astonished to see that, okay? So no desilting of tanks and all, okay? And we are facing the problem of the most important problem of the human being is clean drinking water. So we are not having 600 million people are facing this drinking water problem, and most of the people are now drinking contaminated waters, and we are not caring about all those things. Okay, so this river pollution is, everybody knows, we need not explain that. So all the rivers in India is polluted one, and we are pouring money, that is in Ganga renovation scheme and Kaveri renovation scheme and all, we are pouring money inside the water, but we are not able to get the clean water. So not only the human beings, but also the animals and plants, they are facing the problems. They are not able to adapt. Because if it is a heat, we are putting AC and all. And what about the animals and the plants? Okay. So another important problem is human displacement. This displacement monitoring center, it tracked 32 million disaster displacements that took place between 2015 and 2024. More than 32 million disaster displacements. So in this context, what is our responsibilities? Mainly as a solution, we can easily say that cut carbon. But most of our energy is depending on coal. The coal question comes. Okay? Most of our energy we are depending upon the coal, and the coal is the culprit of creating CO2, and we are not able to minimize the coal use. And also we are always talking about save the trees and all. But what is the extent of our forest cover? Only 25.17% of forest cover. So the forests are the good carbon sinks. Okay, carbon sequestration. If any research on carbon sequestration, you can see how forests are sequestering the carbon. But despite of that problem, we are not able to increase the forest cover of our country. And also the most affected people is the poor people, vulnerable section. Because of this, any flood comes or any heat comes, so these people are mostly affected. This disaster management authority is whether it is functioning good or efficient, and there is no monitoring. And also what we have to emphasize is change the habits. So put off the lights, use the LED bulbs, and also use bicycle. Who will go by bicycle? And use the public transport, alternative day transport. So these are all some of the schemes there. But in due course of time, if we adapt, that is depending upon the human being's practical nature. So what we have to do, the way forward, is green energy. The solar energy, if you go to China and all, each and every house is having the solar energy. Government is, but that type of solar energy system is yet to come to to be developed in India, because out of 520 gigawatts of total power, only 164.5 gigawatts is generated by solar power. And these non-fossil fuel resources, They are dominating 51% of our energy use. And wind energy is only few, that is 10.5%. And only this bioenergy we are using that 25.32%. Okay, so earlier people were using firewood and other things. Now the government itself is giving 3 cylinders freely. Okay, 3 LPG cylinder freely. Government is encouraging that. And so this in the farming sector, agriculture is the most affected. When you research on climate change and agriculture, how agriculture is affected by such type of thing, such type of climate change. So we have to make strong rules, polluters pay principle, then carbon credit, carbon pricing. So many schemes are there, but the implementation and is very lagging, and also the after monitoring is very, very poor in India. So any scheme, there is no monitoring. Feedback monitoring is lagging in India. So in this context, this conference, we have to welcome this conference topic as it has given that economy, business and society. As Vice Chancellor has pointed out how it is affecting the economy. It is affecting the physical infrastructure because flood and all, totally it is affecting the infrastructure, roads and other things. And it is even lowering the labor productivity. And it is affecting the supply chains also, okay? So we have in total, it is affecting our GDP. So the climate change, not directly, indirectly it is affecting our GDP. And the big business, being the student of management, you must be knowing that is the extreme weather, it is increasing the cost of production, manufacturing cost of production, and also the companies, they have to go for new legal rules. Your product should be carbon free. Your input, raw materials should be carbon free. So likewise, the inputs and output restrictions, this may affect the cost of the production of the industry, and they have to, it will be affecting the supply chain. And finally, definitely it is affecting the society, health, the health of the people. So the people's health will be affected because of this climate change. And also this, not the health cost, private health cost it is also affected. So in this context, the society is affected mostly by the climate change, and the economy is affected, the business is affected. So the conference people had chosen a vital topic. If you the deliberations on these topics would help the conference organizer to come with some kind of policy outcomes which may help for the society and which may help for the economy. So, see, this conference with very painstaking, Dr. Shankaran had taken. For the 6 months he was talking to me. For the 6 months he was talking to me and how to organize this and all. And I suggested 3 foreign professors for interaction. One is from USA and one is from Germany. Last year I visited Germany. So that professor had kindly accepted to give this lecture. And another professor from Cambodia. So to catch hold of these professors, because mainly the time is the constraint for them. So the organizers had taken a painstaking efforts, and also from the internal delegates. Okay, he invited internal delegates. So the success of the conference depends upon the outcome of the conference. So how you are presenting your outcome, your research findings, and how he is going to pull that, and how he is going to extract the policies. So that would be helpful for the society as well as the policymakers. With this, I'll end my talk. thank you for having invited me. Hope this conference, I wish the success of the conference. Thank you.
Thank you, Professor Dulce Brinda ma'am, for your enlightening and thought-provoking address. We now move to the felicitation session. First, I invite Professor P. Nadarajan Sir, Dean, School of Management and Director of Culturals, Pondicherry University.
Good afternoon to all of you. First of all, let us give a big round of applause to the International Conference organizers. And I wholeheartedly wish the Department of Economics, School of Management, Pondicherry University for taking this pain of conducting an international conference on a very vital theme, climate change and its impact on economy, business, and society. The most respected president of this international conference and also the Vice Chancellor of our great university, Pondicherry University, Professor Prakash Babu sir, and the most respectable and eminent Professor Kalepa Kalirajan and Professor Madheshwaran and my dear colleagues from the Pondicherry University and the two from the off-campus Arul Murugan, Lenin and Dr. Arul, Director of MMTC and other faculty friends and the special invitees for the program. It gives me an immense pleasure to greet on behalf of the university for partnering this international conference by sharing your knowledge and input. So this international conference has been designed with the 2 panel discussions as well as 5 technical sessions. 2 panel session and 5 technical sessions are there. Good number of papers have come. And above all, the success of the conference is the theme. Theme is very close to the heart of each and every one of us. And my humble request for all the participants, especially student participants and research scholars, you have to take part in all the deliberations and see that the every nuances of the theme should be absorbed by you and it should be transformed to the society. So yeah, I feel every one of you is a transformer. So you have to transform the knowledge and thereby still this climate change knowledge has to be shared, awareness has to be created. That's how when Madam has pointed out, Brinda Madam has pointed out, many a time this climate change problem is not because of nature, not because of the retarding of nature, it is because of the man-made disaster. I used to call it as a disaster, man-made disaster. It's happening slowly and create a big havoc. And definitely earth may not be conducive for living even after 10 to 20 years. Luckily, India faced very recently the climate change problem in acute manner, comparing to European and American countries, where they are devoting their time, mind, above all behavior of the people. That's why when you see the developed economy, especially European countries, their mindset of the people has been tuned in such a way that they have to work for preserve the environment. They have to work for preserve the climate. So that is how they have been habituated over a period of years. But now that awareness is slowly coming to India because we are started facing the climate change problem. This climate change is a kind of a long-term shift in the Earth's overall temperature and weather patterns. So right now we are seeing that weather patterns are changing and the summer time seems to be more than the winter and we are pleasantly losing these kind of the winter or autumn season. And this all will create this all will create a kind of big havoc for us to live in the country. The earth may not be conducive for living. So from that perspective, when we look into that, the theme of the conference is very much pertinent and is very much essential for every one of us. And as a torchbearer, we have to take the concept to the society and see that a big transformation should take place, for which the academic institutions' role is very, very important. Being the teacher, student, and we have to work in an all-round manner so to promote the concept in the form of bringing the courses relating to the environmental economics, development economics, health economics in the curriculum. And then we have to take up research and then we have to take up follow extension related activities also. So academia, research and extension, in all the three it should reflect, then only the transformation will take place in real time and thereby we will be able to create sustainability in the real sense. That is why a clarion call has been given by UNESCO and India has to work for every country, the country across the globe, how to each and every country across the globe, how to work for achieving the goal of SDGs. 17 goals have been designed in such a very meticulously, and see that guidelines are there, frameworks are there, indicators are there. The thing is, we have to understand and see that it has to come into practice. It has to come into reality. Then only the transformation will take place in the real sense. The UNESCO has given a clarion call, as I said, and they have put a schedule of 2030, and 2030 is nearing. And as usual, what is happening in judicial system? We have to go for Vaida. So that is why even that 2030 become 2050. Even when we are not in a position to address the problem in 2050, definitely we will be losing heavily. Yeah, statistics says that around $36 trillion we will be losing. It will, the GDP will, global GDP will come down. And on an annual basis, $2 trillion we will be losing. And the unchecked, the global warming created more than $38 trillion in 2050. So when it is the case, as I said, so definitely earth may not be conducive for living. So for which what we have to do? So we have to take up lot of mitigating efforts starting from every one of us. That is what Professor Kalepa Kallarajan has rightly pointed out. Individuals, first we have to start from individuals. And then when our Krishna has pointed out, social sciences should be included. Yes, true. It's a very, very important. All social scientists must involve. And again, our alignment of thoughts in doing research should also be changed. And we have to work towards the developmental perspective rather than market perspective. That is why even in economics, the behavioral economics are gaining momentum. Environmental economics are gaining momentum now in the recent past, rather than the market economy, market-based economics over a period of 30-40 years. Now we realize all the fakes behind it. That's why it is also being nicely touched by our expert Kalepa sir. And based on assumptions we worked, and many times assumptions are not in a position to ensure or the reality, and that's why the theory becomes invalid. And this is how we make a big mess. At least now, from now onwards, when we are thinking about the behavioral economic based principles, definitely we will make a big change in that. And with respect to economy, as Madam has pointed out, and other speakers, especially our Vice Chancellor, has covered the entire gamut of the discussion. So there is no more telling the points again and again. And definitely the technical session, all the discussion will come place. So we have to view each and every, from the economic perspective, what will be the impact, $1 trillion losses, lower productivity, infrastructure damages, and insurance crisis again. We are talking about insurance, and the insurance will become again a big challenge in the years to come. Either insurance premium will be high so as to meet out all these kind of risk. There is a risk which caused through climate is called exotic risk, and charging the premium, fixing the premium is again a big challenging one. Once when it is not possible to sell that insurance product, insurance company will not introduce that product itself, and thereby risk coverage will not be there. And similarly, these are some of the issues from the economic perspective. From the societal perspective, as you said, supply chain disruption. When supply chain disruption takes place, definitely the so-called consumption may not take place in a very effective way. And economics is a very live subject which deals basically with the production and the consumption. And all of the whole world has gone towards consumption orientation, and especially India. In the last 20-30 years, the consumption rate has been increasing like anything, and India has get into the hyper-consumeristic world. Hyper-consumeristic world, which is not at all good for the betterment of the country. So, when the Vice Chancellor's address, he said about so many hours. So again, while consuming as individuals, we have to consume less, reduce, reuse, repair. So when we are adopting this policy in our lifestyle, definitely we will be the contribution from our side to our consumption will be less, and thereby availability of products will be there, and with which the resources input cannot be used very lavishly, and then only sustainability will become a reality. Otherwise, sustainability will be a talk of the day only. It cannot be a reality. So it has to start from our consumption, and we the consumers are started consuming rapidly, unnecessarily. So that is what I use the word hyper-consumerism. That hyper-consumerism is not a good, that we have to curtail. It starts from individual. When it starts, definitely the manufacturing, that by means of using all input resources, especially land, labor, capital, everything. So that can be reasonably controlled or optimized, with which resources will be available at all time. So these are all the ways and means for ensuring sustainability. And supply chain disruption, then raising the operational costs, and then shifting market demands. So nowadays, again, consumers from the individual perspective, they have a complete awareness. Especially Gen Z consumers are very environmental friendly consumers now. So they are asking only those products. They are preferring only those products. So in that case, automatically the manufacturers have to change their product design, product modification, process design, and automatically the shifting of because of this shifting in the market demands, the production pattern will be changing, product will be changing, so as to suit to the customer's interest. Then only the business units or industries can thrive. Otherwise, it will be a big loss for the industries also. And the impact on the society, especially the health crisis and the food and water insecurity, displacement and inequality, everything will come. And for which it is better, as our Vice Chancellor has pointed out, we have to seriously working for implementing the concept of circular economy system. It should come from bottom to top. Many times we are asking, see the top from bottom, and a bottom-up approach is very much essential. So because it's easy, it is possible. Once when we have a mindset, we will be able to make it possible and feasible, and it will be a viable one also. So from that perspective, the discussion on the topic is very much pertinent and relevant, and otherwise, as I said, it will create a kind of greatest threats to the economic stability. Economic stability, not only in the Indian economic stability, it is a global economic stability will be tilted. And since the economies are integrated, if few countries are getting affected, the whole world getting affected. Already we visualized it, we have seen it, we have realized it. So through so many havocs, the disasters happened in the international arena. So we should not, that's why all-round efforts are essential, and it is the responsibility of each and every individual in the world to work for ensuring this climate change. Then only the climate change can be controlled or curbed out by means of our efforts, serious and sincere efforts. So with this information, once again, I am very happy to congratulate and felicitate the Department of Economics and the entire team, research scholars who are toiling, and especially Dr. Shankaran. Again, big kudos to him. Consistently is working very silently, and that's why the dream has come to true. And being the holiday today, the inauguration function has been fixed, and all of you are coming and gracing the occasion, and see that this message should pass on to every student of the university, and thereby each one catch one. So from that philosophy, you have to catch one point and see that point should be promoted. If it happens, definitely the purpose of the conference will be very successful. So with this, once again, I extend my warm greetings to each and every one of you who are taking part in this conference and making successful. Above all, the one of the hallmark point is a kind of generation gap is bridging the generation gap is taking place, because Kaliparajan sir as well as Madheshwaran, they are knowing each and every faculty member in the department. So that's how he is able to visualize who is a Jerome, what is his area, who is a Gubendran. So like that they are able to find out. That shows that they are developing that kind of affinity with the faculty friends, and thereby they can pass on, they can transform the information from their generation to that generation. So the boomer generation, there must be a knowledge transfer from the boomer generation to X, Y generation and millennials, even Gen Z also. Then only the continuity will be there. And because we are strongly believing on the heritage values. Such heritage will also be imparted, and when we are viewing it in our academic arena with that heritage philosophy, definitely it will pave the way for success. And that's how spontaneously, many times, Madheshwar has come and graced the occasion. He used to move with all the youngsters as if he is at the age of 35, 40. So that means without difference, he is paving the way to move with them and transfer the knowledge, share the information, and guide them in a very effective way. That is one of the hallmark point what I am noticing in the last 2 years. So I want to submit before our Honorable Vice Chancellor. That's why I am sharing this information, sir. So this kind of transformation, knowledge transformation should take place from the seniors to juniors. And as juniors, you should also keenly interested in making use of them. So thereby we will be able to work for translating the unachieved results of those people. No, they have a lot of dreams. Such dreams have to be realized, for which the present team can work for it. So this is also another message in this through this conference I want to tell you. Please make use of the conference very usefully. Thank you one and all for patient listening.
Thank you, sir, for your constant guidance and support to the department whenever necessary. Now, I invite Professor Sabyasachi Saha, sir, Research and Information System for Developing Countries, New Delhi, to offer his felicitation.
Good morning, everyone. This is my first time visiting Pondicherry, so it is very special. And thanks to and congratulations to the organizers for this very interesting and timely conference. Really honored to join the inaugural session. You know, whatever I wanted to say, much of it has been said, but I am not disappointed. Rather, I'm glad because we are all on the same page, perhaps. My regards to Honorable Vice Chancellor. Deep gratitude to Professor Shankaran, who has been planning this important conference for some time, and he was in touch with me for a very long time, so thanks for this. Dignitaries and my dear students, you know, it is extremely significant that the economics department is hosting an international conference on climate change and its impact on the economy, business and society, global perspectives. It is significant because, as rightly projected, that with profound implications arising out of climate change, societies may have to abandon the existing practices and patterns of production and consumption. The consumption basket would change, and it would no longer be profit maximization for firms, but more about managing climate risks and building resilience. The question is when. The answer is that the humanity has breached several planetary boundaries, and so it has to be now. Why is it not happening? The common sense answer is that we are held by selfish inertia where incentives, costs, and reward structures are not aligned. Who is to be blamed? Now, both businesses and societies, and we have referred to this in this session. Is there a way out from this? Maybe yes. Starting with reforming the global governance architecture, Madam alluded to in detail. Reforming capital markets, making technologies more accessible, making innovations more widespread and bottoms up, making societies resilient and responsible to bring climate equity. Global North has to course correct on extractive and excess consumption. You know, we are talking about sustainable consumption and production. 12 SDG goals are listed here. Goal number 12 is missing because goal number 12 is on sustainable consumption and production. It has to be seen in conjunction with goal 13, which is on climate action. Either the Global North and Global South has to meet their development needs and at the same time adopt sustainable growth pathways. Either for the Global North or the Global South, GDP can no longer be the sole parameter of economic prosperity. Resource depletion, unsustainable consumption and production, climate change impacting public health, agriculture productivity, desertification and forest fires, marine pollution, climate-induced vulnerabilities and disasters, etc., all need to be accounted for a holistic understanding of well-being. The work starts now. Unfortunately, the narrative is held hostage to fragile international cooperation frameworks. In 2015, as Madam said, Paris Climate Agreement and the Agenda 2030 with the SDGs were adopted, but the world has made limited progress since. It seems climate resilience, mitigation and adaptation has been sidelined unless national governments themselves are proactive. This is happening at a time when we are impacted by effects of El Nino, heat waves, droughts, forest fires, zoonotic diseases, extinction of species, disrupted climate cycles in all regions of the world, and no country or society is immune. Yet we fail to recognize the shared nature of the challenges and are failing over and over again in cooperating in a meaningful way. The world awaits sanity over madness. The world demands maturity and leadership. As an Indian, I am aware of India's high stakes in shaping global architecture that reforms the economic systems and takes care of needs of emerging economies like India and also the larger global South. This has propelled India to emerge as a leading voice on reform of global governance, including on climate. However, what is unique about India's positioning is its efforts in taking on narrative building head-on and pointing out the existing discrepancies, inconsistencies, and historical injustices. So we need to undo the existing narratives. India believes that there has to be a fundamental paradigm shift, and incremental changes would be inadequate and damaging. The world has to agree on this. Sooner, the better. We cannot spend another decade to arrive at a global compact that is meaningful and effective. The spirit and motivation of this would come from India's civilizational ethos and also the sensibilities demonstrated by the citizens in adopting climate-friendly behavior. Lived realities of societies and communities across the world would be a great asset. And we need to look beyond the top percentile of the population, which is primarily responsible for overconsumption and climate ills. Same levels of per capita consumption is unaffordable by the planet. Hence, the new economic model has to be about societies and communities. Academic research in this area has to grow at an exponential rate. We need more funding, more partnerships, new curriculum, new evaluation methods to begin with. Let Pondicherry University show us the way in some way. As you all know that India has been championing the idea of mission life. I could see a signage on the road within the university on mission life, that is lifestyles for environment. This has emerged as a sustainable development pathway, inclusive of the ideas that we have all shared on the dais today. India has projected this idea both at the COP as well as the G20, where life has been presented as an holistic template of climate action with call for changing existing production and consumption patterns, behavior shifts, and resilience building embedded in community-led initiatives, eventually resulting in a new economic model. This bold new narrative from India has put India in a league of nations that are serious about climate action, taking societies along and upholding the concerns and priorities of the Global South at a time when traditional players are found directionless and ceding their responsibilities and space. This remains a work in progress. Thanks a lot for your attention. Once again, deeply privileged to be amongst you today, this morning.
Thank you, sir, for your felicitation address. As we come to the closing of this inaugural ceremony, gratitude is the finest expression of appreciation. I now request Mr. Nit Kosal, sir, to propose a word of thanks.
Good morning, everyone. Respected Vice Chancellor, distinguished guest speaker that who's present in here and who's also joined us online. And welcome to this International Conference on Climate Change. And welcome to scholars, students, and researchers that who's joined us today. It is my honor and pleasure to deliver the voice of thanks at this important event, and I would like special thanks to the university that who's be with us and holds this important event, and also thanks to the sponsor for this event. And I would like to thank all the speakers being here. Because of time, I don't have much time to present your name again. So very thanks for you and for this interesting discussion this morning, because I do believe that this morning is just the starting point that allow us to understand the big picture, what's going on about the climate change and how it impacts us, society and economy. And through the whole 3 days, I do believe it could be the interesting and serious discussion about how climate change affects at the household level or national level or in the region. And I would like to thank organizer, professor in here, and also the 4 partners that involved with this project. We planned it for do it since last year, and now it is happened. And thanks to all the volunteer students that who support this event. Thanks to the technical team, IT team, and university staff that who support this event. And I think everyone worked hard in order to make this event happen. And also thanks to researchers, scholars, PhD students that who has submitted their paper to present in this conference. And I would close here, and I hope we will have the serious and fun discussion together for the whole 3 days. And yes, I hope we learned a lot. And this is not just the one-hour conference, but after this conference, I hope we will learn new things that help us to develop and contribute to address climate change in our society. Thank you so much.